So in this time of quiet, let us feel the gratitude that there are blessings in this world, in this life, in our lives. Let us be open to that. Let us be open to living our yes. Let us be open to the power of peace, the power of love, and to know that we make a difference in this world. Allow yourself to feel that deep gratitude in the presence that you are. Know that you are blessed and that you are a blessing to this world. And if you care, join me in saying, thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. And so it is.
I am blessed. I am thankful. I am blessed. I am thankful. Won't you join me? I am blessed. I am thankful. I am blessed. I am thankful. Here's the other part. I am blessed. I am thankful. 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 I am peace. I am peace. I am peaceful. I am peace. I am peaceful. I am peace. I am peace. I am peaceful. 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 We are loved. We are loved. We are loving. We are loved. We are loving. We are loved. We are loved. We are loving. We are loved. We are loving.
We are very blessed today to have a very gifted speaker with us. And she's also going to be doing a workshop this afternoon. I'm sure she's going to be telling you about it, but there is a flyer in your program. You can be taking a look at it. I've had the joy to meet her this morning, and she has a very interesting life that she has lived. Many of you have already met her out in the hallway, and out there she has some of her books and her CDs, and this is the book that she has brought with her today. And what I'd like to do is just tell you just a couple of things about her and then let her share her wonderful message with you. One of the most interesting ways that she is described as an explorer, contemplative, entrepreneur, Aries, lover, friend, learner, teacher, guide, and guided. We can always be taught. And she certainly has had a life where she has explored many options to learn. For 10 years, she was in a monastery as a Carmelite nun. She also obtained her master's in theology, and she concentrated on spiritual direction and psycho-spiritual development. She served on a ministry team, and she also chose to achieve her ordination with the Church of the Creator. Not to be stopped, she has also studied Reiki, and she has completed level 3 of Reiki Master Training. Yearly, she is at the Omega Institute, working with meditation. She is also traveling the country, sharing her message, her book, her workshop about living our potential. And certainly in this time when we wonder, do we even have an opportunity and are we free to live our potential? The answer is a resounding yes, so live it. And as we spoke in the meditation, love is so powerful and love calls us. So please join me welcoming Kimberly Braun.
I promise I'll return these important elements with that very deep meditation and the vibrant experience of the community. I was reminded of a lovely recounting of a story. There's a early Christian mystic, Gertrude the Great. I don't know if you're familiar with her. And she had a sister, Mechtilde, and they were both nuns. And Gertrude is called the Great because she was so magnificent. It seemed that spirit just rushed through her all of the time, and she was accomplishing extraordinary phenomena, everything from personal levitation and bilocation to working miracles with the people around her. And Mechtilde was a nun of full surrender and devotion as well, but wasn't accomplishing the same, so she was a little jealous. and she was communing with God, as though that was not enough. And she was complaining to God, and she said, "Why is it that Gertrude's like your favorite? She gets all the magic running through her." And I was moved by the song because that was the answer. God's response was, "Gertrude's heart is one open, thankful container in which I'm free to pour all my power and beauty and light," giving her the key that if Mechtilde followed that same path, who knows what would have happened through her hands, her words, and her being. So it's really wonderful to be with you today. And I'd like to build on the meditation and the music that we've created, the container together, by sharing a chant with you in the monastery, since we primarily lived in silence, we chanted. It was one of the only forms of sound that penetrated our day, anywhere from 5 to 7 to 8 hours a day. So I'd like to kind of add to the space with the vibrancy of this, what I consider very divine feminine chant. So you're free to close your eyes if you want, so that you may magnify that divine feminine within you as well. Salve Regina Mater misericordiae vita dulcedo et spes nostra salve. A te clamamus, et spes nostra fidieve. A te suspiramus, gementes et lentes, in ac lacrimarum vale. And I invite you to open your eyes. I'm only going to read 2 very small snippets from my book, just to set the stage for today's reflection and message that I place myself and my voice at the service of. Our feet will never pass this way again, my love. Your scent, it intoxicates, flares the nostrils and the canals within, pulls and pushes my surrender through marshes and explosive skies, where shafts of unencumbered light lay the land low. Breadth, dissolving height and depth, breathed again, breathed again. Our hearts, never will they pass this way again. I wrote that poem during or shortly after an experience of oneness and bliss in which, like many times in my life, and I'm sure in yours, all the boundaries dissolved and the satisfaction was complete. And there's a feeling of arrival. And it's very interesting because that poem has a bittersweet quality to it. Because in one way, it's luxuriating in the experience itself. And in the same turn of phrase, noting that it's going to pass. How often when we've had that sense of true harmony within ourselves, there's something that feels like we've arrived. Oh, yes. And that we're going to stay there forever. Only to find that 5 minutes later we are in a completely different emotional, psychological, physical experience of our lives. So it begs the question, what is that we experience? Are we meant to have that enduring bliss in each moment? And if so, how? Can we give the level of surrender and yes to that flow that we find ourselves grounded in it? And as I share a little bit today and more in the afternoon workshop if you choose to stay, I encourage you to not necessarily believe a word I have to share. I'm sharing the fruit of my experience. And I do so standing before the mystery of each one of you that is wrestling with your own set of truths and perspectives and surrenders. And my voice is simply here, hopefully, to celebrate and magnify that journey that is all your own. This afternoon, the workshop is called Living Your Yes. And it's going to take this essential nature that I believe is so of how do we stay in that flow? What does it mean? What are the essential pieces? What are pointers and perspectives and practices that we can take not to move away from our chosen lifestyles and do something different necessarily, but right in our path. I was a nun, as Donna mentioned, for 10 and a half years. And as a Carmelite, we lived a very mystical, traditional, contemplative lifestyle. We lived almost completely in silence, and our day was punctuated with chant, meditation, and prayer. And I was on fire in my late teens. I was having experiences that I called unitive so dramatically that it felt like I was making love with God and being pursued by the divine. So for me, joining the monastery was the natural progression to my life. I just had to be with the beloved. You know how that feels when you're in love. And you don't even have to do anything special. You just need to be with that one that seems to catalyze the love within. So I don't think the monastery is for everyone. This is not a talk to say you need to join a monastery to have those experiences. All you need is to be aligned in the spirit that is forever unceasingly calling and arising from within. The unequivocal surrender is to the ineffable teaching that arises in the very fiber of your own life. You are the canvas, which makes your story in one breath both important and not important. It's a paradox, isn't it? Because in one way, your story, the people, the choices, the events, they form the structure or the framework in which you live and move and have your being, in which you surrender and answer that call. So they're important. Recognizing, respecting, grieving when we're meant to grieve, celebrating when we're meant to celebrate. And in that very same breath is the reality that the story of your life is just that. It's just the structure. It's just the framework in this created world that gives the opportunity for the spirit that is at your center, that is your essential nature. It gives the framework for that to express and magnify and lift the cosmos. And so part of the key with that, I find to be captured in a Hebrew text, Psalm 19, verse 3 and 4. Day unto day tells the story, and night unto night reveals the message. It is both the days and the nights of our lives that we discover the revealing of the divine message in our very being. That is foundational to living in that blissful flow with certainty and freedom and joy and peace and ever greater satisfaction. It's so easy in the days of our lives to say, yeah, and we're jazzed and we're charged and we can speak with the light and we've got confidence and joy already gushing within us. And we are intended to be in that same state in the nights of our lives, in the confusion, the doubt, the loss, the uncertainty. It is in that unknowing that we are dismantled to be the full embodiment of the divine in this human construct. And I want to share with you a fun story to illustrate that. I'll use a monastery story because they're always charming. Because not many people are living in a monastery, so there's something kind of, ooh. So you have in the monastery the principal calling or vocation to be at the heart of the world, holding the joys and sorrows of the entire creation story through the chant and meditation. That's the call. And then with that come all the details of creating a sustainable community, like cooking and cleaning. And you are given duties. They don't ask you what you really want to do. So I have a full array of jobs that were somewhat ill-suited for me until I happened to be put in the kitchen. And then you have the passing duties, because you want to change things up in a life that's very rhythmic. We would get up at midnight to chant and meditate as all the land was shrouded in darkness. It was one of my favorite times. We would get up at 5:30 and spend about 3 hours. And then about every hour and a half, we'd spend another half hour to an hour and a half in chant and meditation, all the way till we go to bed at 9 and get up again at 11:30. So some of the changing duties in a monastery are who will read at table. We eat in silence, so someone would read some text. Who would start the chanting off, and then everyone would join in. And one of the passing duties that would change week after week was turning on and off the lights that would be in the sanctuary space. Just one switch. And you would process into the chapel and turn the light on, and you would process out of the chapel and turn the light off. It's very simple. And every time I got that duty, it was a no-brainer, and I did it flawlessly. Right, until. It was about 6 months into my time, and I was in my private meditation, and I was there just absorbed in this, yes. And it was one of those moments where I said, take me to the new level, I'm ready, yes. And I gave a bigger surrender and wrote a blank check to the divine. And you know what happened. Everything after that went haywire. My alarm clock stopped working, so I wasn't waking the nuns up on time. And the next time I received that duty of the tabernacle light, I could never remember to turn it off. I would process in, I'd turn the light on, I would leave the chapel, and something would happen on the way out of the chapel. One of the sleeves we wore, because we wore full habits and we shaved our heads, and then the sleeves we wore were really much bigger than this. You know, a sleeve would get caught on a door and I'd be distracted. Or the cat would race by in the hallway and I'd be distracted. And I forgot the light not just once, but every time we came to the chapel, which is 8 to 10 times a day, every day, for the entire week. Yeah, and it gets funnier because nobody turns the light off for you because it's your duty. So what would happen, and everyone's given a Morse code buzz signal so that if you're out farming the land or wherever you are in the big monastery complex, you can be reached. What would happen is someone would note that the light was still on, let the leader of the community know the light was still on, and I would be buzzed. And everybody in the entire community heard that buzz. Sister Annunziata forgot the light again. So after this entire week of failing, I saw it. I was like, this is a lesson. There is something to learn here, because I had just given that big surrender. So at age 25, I was zealous. I was like, yes, I'm just going to practice greater presence. This is my chance to be present. So the duty came around 4 weeks later, 5 weeks later, and I renewed my resolve to practice presence. And we would be there and we would chant, and there was a lot of body movement in our rituals. So we would chant and move and bow and prostrate, and we'd kiss the floor before we left, and we'd process out. And all the way processing out, I'd be like, presence. I'm noticing the light. I'm one with the light, walking out. And we'd turn to go to the door, and something would happen. And I would forget the light. And I forgot the light every time, every day, the entire week. So that week ended. I was like, okay, that's not my lesson, because I made the misconception that once I get my lesson, I won't fail anymore, right? How often we have a little hook when we're going to get our lessons, and I'll be better at what I'm doing. So my new resolve, the next time it came around, was that I would be more creative. That's what the divine's looking for me. It's looking for me to think out of the box and be creative about how I'm going about being faithful in my life. So I got a big piece of yellow construction paper and put light on it and big marker. And I probably put some crosses and hearts and made it all decorative. And I'm all ready to be faithful to my divine duty. And monastic life is very solemn, so you have to picture all the chant books. We had about 12 of them, and the stalls, and I'm in here with my big yellow construction paper flat out on the stall. And we chanted and meditated and bowed and prostrated and kissed the floor, and I pick up my sign, and I'm like walking out of the choir like this with my big old sign. There's the light, it says light, it's yellow. And I forgot the light. Every time, every day for the entire week. Well, it became the running joke in the community. Every time that duty came around, I would try some new resolve. I would fail every time. And this went on for months. I was not getting my lesson. I was failing to get my lesson. So after about 6-7 months, I was in there kneeling during my private meditation time. And out of nowhere, the thought of the tabernacle light and all these months of failure came face forward to me. And I felt discouraged for the first time in all this failing, and failing to get the lesson, and failing to put into practice whatever I needed to. I came face front with feeling discouraged. And my whole soul felt like it was just going, whoa, down into something of an abyss. And I grabbed a Bible that was sitting next to me. And I'm not any denomination anymore, but these stories can hold great import. And I held that Bible, and in that place of discouragement, I just opened myself, hoping that there would be some inspiration there to help me. I opened it, and it was one of the Gospels, and the passage just lit up and jumped off the page at me. And it was a story when Jesus was with his friends, and his friends were all out on a boat, and Jesus was walking on the water. And one of his friends, Peter, who was in the boat, Says, hey, Jesus, if that's really you, I want to walk on the water too. And Jesus invites him to walk on the water. And Peter's out there walking on the water, and the winds begin to pick up, and the waves begin to move, and Peter starts to sink. And in that moment, there was no difference between me and Peter. His sinking energetically matched the sinking that I felt in my own discouragement. Time and space had dissolved, and it was the setup. Because after that, there is this line that jumped up. Immediately, Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. And in that, I experienced something of a large, inexplicable embrace reach down right where I was, discouraged. And in that embrace, the knowing was imparted that I am never out of the embrace of the divine. There isn't anything I could do or not do, say or not say, be or not be, that would have any effect on the reality that I am in the embrace every moment of every day. That we, as the sounding of the unsounded, are pulsing in that embrace. And in that, my discouragement, it dissolved. And the byproduct was that I never forgot the light again. But it wasn't the goal.